It's interesting. I think co-investments is definitely the topic du jour, but it's definitely cyclical. We've seen this story before where I think when it's a more benign environment, a lot of investors come in and seek to do co-investing. I think the evolution's probably, it is an important part of the market. It's established now, but when we hit a market cycle, some of that capacity for co-investments probably goes away. Another part of the co-investment evolution, which is interesting, is that general partners are less willing to share deals with other general partners, especially consortium deals. And I think that's an outgrowth of the global financial crisis period. So what happens now is that they're partnering with pools of capital, LP co-investors, earlier on in the process, which makes it, for co-investors sometimes, those transactions don't actually make it to the finish line. But for those groups that are capable, it has opened up a part of the market that's much more interesting, especially processes that are early in the process. So co-investment groups that can function almost like a direct general partner, but really you're backstopping the lead general partner. It's the investment discipline. I think the deal flow is probably greatest when the markets are more frothy. There's more opportunities, so it is about trying to keep that discipline of process and discipline of investment pace. And that, because vintage matters. There's good deals to be done really within any vintage year, but when you deploy capital in the cycle really matters to the risk-reward element, to how attractive the deals are during that period. When you had the conversation about whether if it's their fund or a co-investment, is what is their differentiated edge? You know, why does that deal make sense for them to own, or you know, how are they going to generate that differentiated alpha? And I think that's a part of the storytelling that a lot of GPs surprisingly don't get. I think it's a much more sophisticated market now. So investors want to be partnered with GPs that have a differentiated edge. Well, you come into these situations, you know, you try to keep a little bit of an open mind because most of the things you hear repeated. So I'd like to hear some, you know, signs on what's going on in the markets, right? There's a lot of groupthink in the industry, and I think you want to in talking, and these are more private conversations, maybe not in the conferences, about how people are thinking about the market, because right now it's the macro opportunities. You know, there are interesting parts of the market, but there's definitely risk in the market. So it's about taking in the information and trying to calibrate those risks. And you know, we're all trying to do the same thing for our investors, right? We're trying to make really good risk-adjusted returns for our investors. So I think it's just keep learning and taking in the information and see what we can do for our investors.